Hello.
Hello.
Yes, hello from me.
Hello. Hello.
He's having a chat. We must be waiting for Scott. So,
Mike, are you running this, are you?
I'm here.
are you there, mate? Here we
Yep.
go.
Should we kick off?
Let's do it. So I was actually going to say, like, if everyone wants to mute themselves, that'd be great. So they've helped with the background noise. And Scott, I'll stop sharing, mate, if you want to get stuck in and do your part.
Rightio, no worries. Very good. I'll just start off with a quick introduction. My name's Scott Young. I'm the Managing Director and co-founder of Catch Power. And today we're going to kick off with a bit of a chat about what our hardware is and what it does, and leading that into our new partnership with Local Vaults. And Mike Hayden here is an expert in Local Vaults. He knows all about it, and he's going to take the reins from there and share all that good information with you guys. So leave it with me. Let's. I'll get stuck in. Alrighty, so okay, so there was the introduction there. Of course, this was prepared, put together by Erin, our marketing and sales manager there. So thanks to her. All right. So a little bit about Catch Power. So we are an Australian manufacturer of hardware that helps residential solar owners of solar and battery to maximize the use and the participation of that energy resource to benefit that household as much as it can. So that includes not just offsetting loads for self-consumption, but also manipulating that generation, storage, electric hot water, and other things, which we'll talk about for the benefit of that house. Everything that's got a Catch Power logo on it has been done by Catch Power. So the hardware itself has been designed and engineered by our engineers. The manufacturing is done in our facility there in Glen Innes, northern New South Wales. There's firmware on board, all done by us. There's a cloud server environment, which is very busy and doing lots of things around managing all the tens of thousands of sites out there. and all of that has been done by us. There's our own app called the Monocle, and that's all been produced by us in-house as well. So we're not sort of bringing in a product from overseas or using overseas engineering from a software house or anything like that. We're doing it all ourselves, and we're pretty proud about that. But that gives us the ability to change our engineering as we need to if there's a change in the market. And there has been some pretty substantial changes. Sometimes it could be a new brand rising to the top, such as the likes of SIG and Fox and those people and those sort of brands, or it could be a new retailer coming to the market. So we're ready for all of those things. So, as I said, we manufacture and engineer hardware for maximising the participation of generation and storage in the home, and that's to help with the aid of adding more renewables to the grid and reducing our carbon footprint. The solar is unregulated generation by and large, and this is one of the reasons why the federal battery rebate was one of the factors of participating was that the power equipment had to be VPP enabled, and this is because this will all have to be managed at some point down the track. And in fact, there's management happening right now, right throughout the NEM, different parts of the NEM. It's about to come to New South Wales, all around managing these things. But there's a lot of things that us as a household and us as a manufacturer and supplier to households that can do to manage this equipment in our homes for the better of our homes and also the environment and the greater network. So at the moment, we've got a challenging situation where with all of this unregulated generation, that there's far more generation through the middle of the day than there is load. And so you'll see this is what they refer to as the duck curve, where you've got a bit of a morning peak, and then there's the very low load scenarios through the middle of the day. And that right at that curve right at the bottom there, that's 2025. So that's a current graph, and that poses a lot of problems and a lot of challenges for the grid. And so this is why there's things like flexible exports in some parts of Australia, emergency backstop, various other mechanisms by the DNSPs to manage that. One of the side effects of that is negative wholesale pricing, which we'll get to as well. And in general, just network instability. The evening peak there will potentially grow with well, I'll start that again. Could potentially reduce in the short term with batteries coming online more and more. There's been a record number of batteries sold. We were at a conference there last week, and we heard that 10% of the batteries manufactured in the world were going to Australia. That's a massive number. So that will take the heat off the daytime peak.
Hey,
sorry,
Scott.
the afternoon load, the afternoon peak, but that will then be quickly replaced by EVs, and the EVs coming into the network.
Hey, Scott. Just
Yeah.
two questions. So what is emergency backstop and what is flexible exports?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So they're both part of what they call a CSIP, or a common smart inverter protocol that the DNSPs have adopted. And this is where the generation and soon to be the batteries can be manipulated to either stop generating or turn off altogether, and also manipulate batteries if need be. If there's a network crisis. So, for example, in South Australia, they have flexible exports. So that means that in any 5-minute period, they can put out a request for the export limit for that site to be changed, and we receive that signal from the DNSPs, and we send that out to the fleet of devices that we've got under that control. So that could be anything from 1.5 kilowatts all the way up to 10 kilowatts.
So if I was someone at home and I'm limited to 5 kilowatt export, and I change to flexible exports, that means that if they do really want 10 out of my batteries, they can take 10 if I've signed up.
Not out of your batteries, out of your inverter.
PV, yeah.
Yeah. So there will be some controls over batteries. I'm not sure what because there's a version 1.2 coming out, which does include batteries, but I don't think it includes the manipulation of the batteries for CSIP.
Okay, so right now it's only for PV.
Correct. Yep. Correct. Yeah. And in Victoria, they don't have flexible exports. They've just got emergency backstop. So that just means if there's a problem with the grid, the network, they can just turn it off. Clunk.
So does that shut everyone's solar down, or does it just reduce it? It stops everyone from feeding back to the grid?
Shuts it down. Yeah, shuts it down. It could be, with the emergency backstop, it's just off. But flexible exports can take it down to zero export, but they also have a zero generation trigger as well. So they can do both. They can do either. In New South Wales, they're rolling it out this year. Should be in place by the end of this year. And I know that Essential Energy is going straight to flexible exports. They're not bothering with the emergency backstop sort of step. They're going to go full flexible. So that's coming. Tassie's the only one in the NEM that won't have it then, and they're probably still 3 or 4 years away from that. They have a lot of hydro that can manipulate things for the betterment of that state. So that's a bit of background as to the role that that solar is playing in our grid at the moment, and why there's some changes coming or changes happening. You may or may not be exposed to these things, but we have a role to play, and there's benefits that we have got to capitalise on. So let's talk about. I'll just start off with a definition down the bottom there. I almost said it in the earlier on, but I contain myself to say it now, where we've got a definition, and that's the definition. The term that I'll use is CER, and that's an abbreviation for Consumer Energy Resources, and really that just means anything behind the meter that you're being metered for. But the main contributors to the CER, and these are the things that potentially cost you money if you run them. But the main contributors to that make up the mix with CER are the inverter itself, the battery it's connected to, electric hot water, and EV charging. So they're the major contributors to the bill when we refer to CER. So when I refer to CER, these are the things that I'm talking about. So just to move on there, that we're just starting off with a quote from a Greek philosopher from many centuries ago, and he said that nothing is permanent except change, and that has never been more pertinent or relevant than today and what's happening in our homes. There is going to be change in everyone's homes, particularly if you've got a roof, and it could be one of many things. And that could be that you're putting in solar and battery in for the first time. Could be that you've got solar and you're adding batteries. Could be that you've bought an EV and you've got that to welcome into your house and see how that can work in your energy profile. You could be changing retailer, or it could be that there could be other loads that you're adding for whatever reason. So these are the things, and no doubt that if you're a residential homeowner, one of these things you'll be faced with, or will take up the option of, and then you've got a range of choices and to how that can work for you. So let's talk about energy plans for a start. So people, the homeowner, you guys, you want an energy plan that is easy to understand, delivers savings. You don't want the complexity, and you just want it to work. So that's fine. That's what it's been to date, with the likes of the large incumbents, Origin, Energy Australia, etc. But things are about to change, and they're changing fast, and this is an opportunity for everyone. So there's now a wider range of in lots of parts of Australia, the retail electricity is contestable, and with all of the CER that's being deployed, including, the amount of solar that's been installed in the first place, close to 4 million homes with solar on their roofs, means that these retailers are offering more and more unique and bespoke retail offers. And an example of that is the offer that OVO have had. I believe it's past tense now, may not be available anymore, where they actually offer 3 hours of power for free in the middle of the day. So if you've got the control over your CER, over your hot water, over your EV charging, et cetera, maybe charging your batteries, then you can do all that for free. And then that could potentially set you up for the rest of the day. But we want to be able to choose a plan that enables us to involve as much of our CER as possible. It could be 3 hours of free power during the day. It could just be time of use, where it's just cheaper in the times of less demand, say through the night or the middle of the day, and you want to set up timers or schedules to be able to capitalize on those cheaper prices. The trick is to look, to be aware that these plans are out there and that there are mechanisms by finding those plans, and I'll reveal all that in the slides ahead. And of course, the extreme of all this that has become a recent phenomenon, particularly with batteries rolling out, is access to wholesale electricity price. This is where a couple of retailers give you direct access to the wholesale price for a subscription fee. They can dial you straight in. It's not for the faint-hearted, and to have the right level of control in the background will serve you well. So let's talk about that. Okay, hang on, I'm not there yet. So the wholesale electricity market. I mean, if you thought that your electricity pricing changing once a year was drastic, well, brace yourself, because wholesale prices settle every 5 minutes, and doesn't mean they change every 5 minutes, but the price settles every 5 minutes, and generally there's change through the day. And the areas where products like ours can really excel and provide benefit for the homeowner is when there's volatility. And there has been a bit of volatility over in the past in here in Adelaide, and I think in other parts of the country. It may have changed a little bit with all these batteries going in, but generally the price goes negative every day, every sunny day. So that means that you actually get charged for your exports. But it also means that the cost of power, your consumption, goes very low. And so that's an opportunity to do all those things. Like the 3 hours of power, you have the opportunity to then have loads trigger on those low prices. I mean, the first thing you want to do is curtail your exports, so you're not exporting and getting charged for that, but it's also an opportunity to start heating your hot water, charge the batteries ready for the evening peak, and have the EV full, ready to pick up the kids in the arvo. Now, this is where you guys really have the opportunity to take control of this whole changing landscape of retail electricity. So 2 years ago, Catch Power acquired a company called Solar Analytics, amazing software company specializing in monitoring. And one of the things that they really excelled at was the overlaying of your specific energy profile with all of the myriad of retail offers out there. So at any time, I speak to solar retailers every day, and they often say to me, the question I get asked the most once I've finished a job is, who should I use for my electricity retailer? Now, if they put in Catch Control, they get Solar Analytics as part of that install, and that question will be answered for them forever. Because with a click of a couple of buttons, uploading of a bill, the plan optimizer will list all of the plans that are available from the most savings per quarter to the least. And keep in mind, this is a minefield of an area because there are thousands of different retail plans to choose from. But we sift through that for you and rank them, and so you can choose who to shift to in order to make the most. And this is a unique decision based on your energy profile. So that's Plan Optimizer. You can also schedule the various loads in your house. So here are a couple of screenshots of our Monaco app. So the one on the left-hand side of the page shows the energy flows through the day. Not much solar being generated at 6:25 in the morning. But on the right-hand side, you've got the battery and you've got electric hot water. And from there, I can choose to schedule what happens to those loads. So you may want to charge them in the afternoon, or sorry, in the middle of the day when the power's cheap. You may want to. That's the main opportunity there. And if you're playing in the wholesale market, you may want to set a trigger for either charging or discharging, and I'll show you some examples of that. And on the right hand side, and you can do the same thing with the hot water, and then an EV charger. If we're integrated with an EV charger, we can do that as well. And there's an example of a schedule. So for the period between 3:45 in the afternoon and 7 p.m, this particular site will have a 7.5 kilowatt charger running all through the week, every afternoon, to keep that to top up that battery back up to fully charged. So we're talking about accessing the wholesale market. That's what we're building towards. That's where Mike's going to come in and start. But working with CER, as long as you've got the tools to control all of those things, your solar generation, your battery storage, electric hot water, your EV, then you stand to gain a lot from participating in this new landscape of retail electricity, and really giving it its opportunity to stick it to the man. You know, we haven't had this available to us in the past, but things are changing, and now we can. So when prices are low, you curtail your solar or you run your loads. You can set price triggers to have that CER respond quickly. So, for example, there was a price event there a couple of years ago. It was, I think it was in February. Just the time of year, it was like the third or fourth hot day in a row for the southern cities, particularly Melbourne. And so a price came through all the way to Glen Innes, through the NEM, where the demand for generation was high, and so the price reflected that. And the system that was on our shed was all set up with these price triggers. We got a large system. It was in the evening, well, not in the evening. It was in the afternoon, late afternoon. So there was still some generation we had, but we also had a whole lot of batteries connected. And in that period, I think it went for maybe 2 hours. The generation went as long as it could and went out the gate and got paid for that. And the batteries also all discharged. And as a result, the account was in credit from that 2 hour window by $250 in one pricing event. So this is what can happen if you're looking to participate in the wholesale energy market. Now, I started the presentation by talking about network instability. Now, of course, the DNSPs are doing their bit in curtailing solar and managing other things, but really, the market price is a trigger or it's another way of motivating people to participate. So if you are participating, you're actually contributing to the stabilization of the grid. And the more stable the grid is, the other benefit is the more renewables we can then install. And then that's all working towards the acceleration of the energy transition to an all-electric, low-carbon network. Just a couple of examples of what the wholesale electricity prices look like through our apps. So this is an account that has local volts. You can see that it says local volts is your provider. You've got the feed-in tariff price there of 9 cents per kilowatt hour, and So that's a pretty good feed-in. You'd let that go out the gate these days. It's very difficult to get double figures for your solar exports, and your general rate is 30 cents. So that's fairly high. So you'd want to be covered by batteries for that at that point, at that period. And and on the right-hand side, you've got an example of what it looks like to set up a site to trigger these things based on these price triggers. So it could be on feed-in tariff. It could be, and then you stipulate the cents per watt where you want the event to happen. So an easy example is if the export price goes to zero, curtail my solar so I'm not exporting. But you could do the same with your batteries. So as I mentioned, we've got a new partnership with Local Volts. You can actually sign up to Local Volts through our app. It takes you straight to their website to take all the details, and you're in. And then that'll connect you, and you'll have all of the notifications, pricing, and the ability to set up and schedule, do all the price triggers for your CER to get them to maximum to extract the maximum out of your system and out of your CER, out of the generation and storage that you've invested your hard-earned money in. So on that note, I will now hand over to Mike, who is a long-term user of Local Volts, and we'll take it from there. I'll stop sharing. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, yep. So just, has anyone got any questions for Scott before we jump over to the Local Volts stuff? Just put in the chat and we can ask. Does solar analytics work better with Local Volts? It's no different. Did you want to answer that, Scott?
Just type.
Oh, Scott's muted there.
Go to chat.
So solar analytics, guys, all it does is read your data to give you the information. It doesn't matter what retailer that you're with. It's not going to change with solar analytics. It doesn't matter what retailer you're with.
So just to answer that question, I don't think Local Volts per se is listed as a retailer, but we certainly have Amber listed. So if you're seeing Amber as your best retail opportunity, then you can say that the same thing is with Local Volts because they're using the same prices. They don't set the prices. The price is set by AEMO on the market.
The point of my question was that I can't get solar analytics software to incorporate my Amber plan because of the dynamic pricing. So the solar analytics software, it just says we're investigating your plan, and that's been going on for months. So,
and whereabouts are you, Derek?
South Australia.
Right. Okay. I'm not aware of why that is. Do you have other retail plans show up?
Well, I haven't actually looked for other plans yet because I've got the site running on Amber, and so far I'm still happy with it. It's just the solar analytics doesn't give me all the information I was hoping for because of that integration with the Amber plan. And I was just wondering, would it be any better with Local Volts, or because of the dynamic pricing, will I have the same trouble?
Look, I don't know the answer to that. It would be in terms of the difference between Amber and Local Volts, it won't be any different. The transmission charges are the same, the wholesale price is the same, because I don't set either of those things. And I think the only difference would be the monthly subscription, and I think they're the same as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Peter, you had a question? You had your hand up, Peter Cattell.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm with Ergon in Queensland, and I don't believe we can take any advance of any advantage from changing wholesale prices. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. However, there is the opportunity to there are time of use tariffs available in Ergon, and you can also so you can manipulate and schedule. Really, this will be scheduling your potentially the heating of your hot water, charging of an EV, or even charging your batteries if it's lousy weather, when prices are cheaper based on those time of use tariffs. So the opportunities aren't as great or as, you know,
and so
it's
look,
not every 5 minutes, but they're definitely there.
yeah, and local vaults is available in Ergon. It's just complicated. It's one of those things. Give it a go for 3 months and see if you win. If not, go back to another retailer. Ergon has some. So Ergon get funded by the government to discount your energy prices.
Yeah.
Local vaults don't get that. If you go against Ergon, you don't get those rebates, which show up in the cost of your energy on your bill. So some people win switching away from Ergon and going to the local vault. Some people don't. So, and it's unique, you know, so be very aware of that. If you want to give it a go, give it a crack, but you may win, you may not. That's how I'd put it to you. So
it's worth knowing there, Peter, and anyone else who's in the Ergon area, that network in particular is one of the thinnest spread networks in the world.
Yes.
So, and that doesn't come for free, and that's where the subsidies are, and that's why it's difficult to have a contestable market in those areas. It is actually open for contestable retailing, but it's just it's just too difficult to make the numbers work for the homeowner.
Okay, so there's no point talking to Ergon about it.
Look, I would consider I mean, not to Ergon, that's for sure, but I would consider looking at the different tariffs and see if there is a time of use tariff that you can take advantage of.
Yep. Or if you want to give local vaults a go, you give it a crack and just see whether it works out for you or not.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a risk, you know, whether it does or not. So look, and just some stuff to pick up that Scott said. So local vaults at Amber actually do charge different prices. So local vaults is daily service fee, we'll call it. Local vaults do everything per day, where Amber's sort of more talking a monthly. Local vaults is monthly cost is more expensive than Amber. So it works out about $10 to $15 more expensive. Now, the difference between local vaults and Amber on that there is Amber have a price guarantee where they charge a couple of cents per kilowatt hour that you buy from the grid. So Amber's prices are loaded up. They have their bill guarantee, whatever it is, and they do load the prices up. So yeah, local vaults is more expensive, but local vaults gives you 100% transparent costs of the wholesale market. They just pass through. So local vaults don't load any prices up on your tariffs, basically. So if you're looking into that sort of stuff, and look, my attitude is just a bit of background about myself, guys. I don't work for local vaults. I've been running a solar and battery company for 15 years. In the last 15 years, we've probably installed 20 systems without batteries. Batteries is my thing. That's what I do. And I love the concept of local vaults. My attitude is, you know, as long as you're with someone but not the big guys, great. You know, whether it's Glowbird or I'll use OVO Energy as an example. In my younger days, I built up a company called Australia Power and Gas. I was a sales rep for that company. We built up to over 750,000 customers. The guys that owned it sold it for $220 million to AGL. And to AGL, it was just like $220 a customer. That's what they paid for. And OVO is a very similar example where OVO has just been sold to AGL. So, you know, it's just a part of AGL. And that's what the big guys just keep doing. They just keep buying up all the smaller guys because it's just, they get their customers back. So, so my attitude is as long as you're with someone but one of the big guys, you know, you're doing the world a favor is how I feel about it. So, yeah, Paul?
To take advantage of the plan optimizer, I firstly want to go back to basics. They just recently had a battery installed, but it's not showing up on the monocle, and therefore you wouldn't be getting true readings on what
So
how the system
with
works.
that stuff, hey, just with that stuff, Paul, we'll just leave that. That's more of a one-on-one question to contact Catch outside of this. Otherwise, we're here talking about your personal situation. So,
Sure.
Look, I'm going to dive into this, guys, and talk about the wholesale market and the benefit of local vaults over most of the other retailers, and why I love it so much. Look, I don't work for local vaults. I just love the concept of it. I've been involved in batteries for a very long time, and I've been involved in cryptocurrency and things like that. And I love being sovereign, energy, self-sufficiency. For 15 years selling solar and batteries, my concept's always been you put batteries in because you want cold beer and aircon when no one else has got it. So that's been my customer base for the last 15 years. And over the last few years, things lots have changed because there's a sweet spot where potentially batteries can make sense financially and you can make some money out of it. And the whole concept with local vaults for me is what I really loved about it is the difference between local vaults and other retailers is the peer-to-peer, which we're going to get into. So I'm going to explain this. I'm in the Essential Energy Network. That's where most of our customers are. So I'm going to talk about Essential Energy. So there's a few different charges on your energy bill that make up the cost of your kilowatt hour with the price that you charge. So you've got your network charges. So it doesn't matter what energy company you're with, they do not change. So whether you're with Amber, Local Vaults, Energy Australia, AGL, Origin, the network charges do not change. That money is paid back to the network operator, in my situation, Essential Energy, and that's the money they have to maintain our poles and wires. Now, we've got 20% retail margin. That's normally in a traditional retailer. They got their margin in there. 5% government schemes. Now, there's this whole thing that says, oh, solar makes the industry more expensive and energy more expensive for people that don't have solar. This is actually the reason it does. Anyone that thinks you've got a free rebate from the government when you got your STCs or your rebates, it's all smoke and mirrors, because any energy you buy back from the network, you pay 5% of the energy cost towards that program. So it wasn't free money. It wasn't a rebate up front. And that's why it actually penalizes people that do not have solar and batteries. They are funding all us rich people, because the reality is if you can afford to put solar and batteries in, you're doing all right. We are funding the people that actually can't afford it. So that's 5% of your costs go there in government schemes. Now, metering charges. So 3% of the cost on your bill goes to metering charges. So that's literally, anyone's got a smart meter to pay for the SIM card in your smart meter. If you don't, it's to cover the cost of people to walk around and read your meter in your house. And one thing in that there, if you do want to play this game, you will be better off having a smart meter. So it's pretty much, you want to have a smart meter playing this game to get the most out of it. And the last cost on your bill is generation costs. Now, with all this stuff with local vaults, the only one thing we can change is the cost of your generation cost. That's it. So all the other costs are fixed from the energy retailers or government schemes, or so if you think about it from local vaults point of view, their job is to collect all that money from you. They get it. They pay Essential Energy. They pay the government schemes. They pay the meter readers. So they're just the messenger, basically, is how local vaults work. Now, one thing I will mention and bring up that I'm going to fix up our little presentation here and get in there, a lot of people don't think about. The other cost that we do have associated with all this that's not in here is our generation backup. So, we've been selling off-grid solar systems for 15 years. When it rains, you need a backup situation. You need a generator. And for us as the grid, we pay for a generator. So the more energy we use, and this is the, I suppose, the unspoken thing about renewables and why people say, oh, but renewables cost more, and because we do need to build that generation and have a backup. And that could be batteries, that could be wind and solar, but the reality is most of the time, it is a coal-fired power station, gas turbines. All these backup generation sources we have are things we can turn on instantly to make sure the grid doesn't destabilize and lose power. So the more and more energy demand we have, the more and more of those backup sources that we need to have when we don't have renewables or batteries available and things like that. So, which is good. So cool. So that's how the prices are made up in your energy bill. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you. Okay. So the whole concept of local vaults is peer-to-peer. If you look on their home screen, this is Green's generation. So the bigger the circle, the bigger the generator. Now we'll just pick on Tasmania because it's easy to see. Those three big green dots down there are hydroelectric generators on the network. So they will get quite big some nights. They get quite small. So they're hydroelectric. So the bigger the green dot, the bigger the generator. And the orange is a load. So basically you'll see this over night time if you have a look at it all. The orange is basically the loads. I'll actually zoom that in a bit. Make it a bit easier. So yeah, the orange, and you'll see over nighttime, the solar sort of disappears and more people come online that are buying. And if you look at these trades, all this stuff on the homepage here, the electricity imports. So that's local volts load at the moment. So if you think about this as your own solar system, that's how much energy the local volts community is using at the moment. And we're exporting 2,000 kilowatts. So as an example, as a community, we're 237 kilowatts short of being self-sufficient. Does that make sense? So so local volts as a company right now are only buying over 230 kilowatts from the network operators, basically from the wholesale energy market, where there's enough energy there to be sold between everyone and peer-to-peer, which is pretty cool. So okay, done. Now I'm going to jump over and show you the back end of my local vault stuff. So this is my house basically. So the darker colors, so the orange and the greens, they're my peer-to-peer trade. So I'm actually buying off someone else. So that money, even though it goes on my local vaults bill, local vaults take that money and they give to another end user like yourself. So we can actually have a look over here and have a look at all my trades. So I'm buying for 24 cents, 12 cents, 9 cents, 25 cents, 10 cents, so on and so on, of all these different people. And I'm selling for all these different prices here. But that money there is actually going to these individuals. So even though local vaults is just our biller, I pay my money to local vaults. Local vaults pay that money to Alstonville Quality Meats. So they're yeah. So that's how the peer-to-peer side of it works. So, back over here. Okay, so I actually might go back a day. I actually had a bad night last night because let's see what happened last night. We had to schedule blackout today, so Essential Energy have turned off my grid tonight. Today, so we're running in off-grid mode at the moment, so to charge my batteries back up. As you can see here, I brought a ton of energy from the grid at midnight through to the morning because yeah, I was topping my batteries up because I didn't want to not have power today. So when the grid went out, so I wanted to make sure I was off-grid and self-sufficient and better here for this. So as you can see, guys, you can see the grey and the orange there, and then you see the lighter orange. This is a really good example of I've made a deal to say to people, I buy about this much energy over nighttime, and I'm willing to buy this. Because last night I had no contracts in place and I just brought off the market randomly, I end up just buying off the wholesale market, not off peer-to-peer. And that's why it's light orange. That shows me just buying on the market at any price. I didn't care. My priority last night was to get my batteries charged, so I had power today for this call. That makes sense. Same for the solar power over daytime. The darker green is me selling to someone peer-to-peer, and the light green is what I've sold and no one's purchased. I've just sold to the market. And then the gray stuff is energy I had available to sell to someone and they never purchased it. So I made a contract with someone on the market and said, hey, I've got all this energy available to sell, and they decided not to turn up and use the energy that night or that day during the day. If you look at the nighttime stuff, here's another really good example of that, where I dumped my batteries to the grid. I had a contract with someone to buy their energy, and they just didn't use that energy over nighttime. So my peer-to-peer trades didn't go through. A little bit went through. That darker green went through to someone else, but instead I just sold that energy on the wholesale market instead. So won't worry about that. This graph actually here is a pretty cool graph. It's really hard to see on your end. It's hard to see on my end. And it's one of those things you only really see as a local vault customer. It actually shows where all the energy actually travels to on the network of all the buyers and sellers and trades and where they're heading to, which is pretty cool. So this is all the breakdowns. So on this local vault stuff, just to reaffirm what we said before, so the only thing we can actually change the price of is the cost of the energy. So the peer-to-peer, So you can either buy or sell. And the whole concept behind local vaults with the peer-to-peer is that we can set prices and do deals between each other, and we can set our own prices. So I'll give it with Amber. You know, Amber's pretty much, you've got to wait for wholesale prices to spike. You know, the whole buy low, sell high. And that might happen like 10 times a year. And I see a lot of people with Amber, they get upset with it and they come and go and they leave Amber. They just don't give it enough time. Because it is only maybe 10 times a year, the prices go through the roof and, you know, you go in and make that money. So people come and go and they miss out on those opportunities. Where with local vaults, we have a business. So it's another one of my businesses. We take people's excess solar and batteries, we sell it to local business owners to get them cheaper energy. That's sort of the concept of what we do. And that's why I love the whole local vaults concept, because we can set our prices and we're not relying on the big energy retailers and all that sort of stuff. So we get to set our own prices. We've got a couple of questions here. So is the P2P automated, or are you by your device? No. So with any P2P trades, you actually do require to go in and set a contract and say, I want to sell this amount of excess energy. So I'll tell you how my place works and how catch is really beneficial. So what I do, I sell, say 2/3 of my energy all the time peer-to-peer of night time. I've got it available for people to buy peer-to-peer, 2/3 of it. And I leave a third that just goes to the market. And I get hardly nothing some nights. But when those prices go through the roof, I have that third to sell, the extra third. But the other thing that happens if I'm using catch, so when catch takes control of my batteries, when those prices jump to the roof, catch will dump anything and everything, and you can set the catch to go, right, take everything and sell instead of my peer-to-peer. And we sort of bypass the peer-to-peer in those nights. So anyone that had a contract with me, they get my energy that I promised them. And then my other stuff, catch will take control and dump anything and everything back to the grid, because I want that $22 a kilowatt hour, basically. And that's how catch is really beneficial for those nights, because it can just turn everything up full bore, get it out there and make as much money as possible. So, so the peer-to-peer is not automated. You do need to set your buys and sells. So you need to go, so I'm willing to pay this on the market. I'm willing to sell it for this. And then you leave some open for the wholesale market nights when the prices go crazy. So is the trades automated? Yeah. So Nathan, the trades are, you set a price and they will automatically get matched. But it requires someone on the other end to say, I'm willing to pay that price. And, you know, it's a whole game where I suppose we do so successful for our business owners when we save them money, because we can see the back end. I've got to log into all my local vaults customers and I can see what someone's willing to sell for, what someone is to buy for, and I match those trades up. And but it's a game, you know. You can go out there and go, right, I want 25 cents a kilowatt hour and no one's buying it. You've got to move it down to 23, 22 and find that sweet spot where people buy your energy. So Ben, does local vaults determine whether the sell P2P or wholesale is based on the better financial outcome? No. So local vaults, the best way to think of them, they're just an information provider. That's all they care about. They're going to do your billing, get you a bill. Any smarts, local vaults' whole concept is to work with partners like Catch Power and like myself, to allow us to build businesses, use their data and their information to be able to provide services to the community. So local vaults is just a biller and an information provider. That's all they'll ever be. They have zero interest in building a smart app, take control of your peer-to-peer. It's more that here's a platform, you get to use it and do what you want to do with it. So does that answer your question, Ben? So how long to spend contracts? So for us, we do a bit of a set and forget. And it is one of those things that you can, you know, the whole local vault concept, the market is transparent. So when you're doing your buy and sell energy with trades, I'll just do one. Make an offer. So for my available energy I have available, local vault sort of suggests to sell it for 3.53 cents a kilowatt hour, because someone's likely to pick it up for that price. basically. So so I've only got like 0.4 of a 6 kilowatt in the whole day available left to sell that I haven't got contracted to someone. So yeah, you can go in and put prices and play around if you really want to get serious and get into this stuff. You know, the way I think about it is just work with the tariffs. That's one of the biggest things people get themselves in trouble in, not being on the right tariff. But if you think about those prices between 10 and 3 o'clock, no one wants your energy, is the reality. You know, every solar company, every retailer, we've all got dramas. If you look at the local Volts home screen, there's a ton of green dots there. No one wants your solar at daytime. So your feed-in you're going to get, and this is why the government is going to annoy a lot of people. They're giving this free solar of a day for the 3 hours because they're trying to encourage more and more people to use it basically in the middle of the day to get rid of the excess instead of turning it off. But no one wants your solar in the middle of the day. So if you do want to sell peer-to-peer and get something for it, set it low. There are people that will buy it. So we have business customers that they're willing to spend more money to buy your energy because they want to, like I'll give you an example. There's a company called Chicken Mania in the Northern Rivers. They have 4 chicken shops. And they've said to me, Mike, we would rather buy more of our energy from locals and get it for free from the market, because one of those locals, if we buy their energy for 3-5 cents a kilowatt in the middle of the day, we don't care. They're more likely to come into our shop and spend some money. And it's all about keeping the money in the community. That's our concept with the Chicken Mania company. So 10 to 3, no one wants your solar. It's going to be minimal. That 3 to 5 period, you will get a little bit more. You might get 6 to 8 cents. So I normally set a different buy price or different sell price between 3 and 5 o'clock. And then I have a different price between 5 and 8 o'clock at night time. So it's about, you do your trades, you set them up, let them go for, 3 to 5 days, see how they've gone, and then you can go back and redo your trades. And after a while, you'll sort of work out who's buying, who's not, change your prices to that point of time you're happy with the prices that you're getting, basically. But the whole concept of local Volts is to let the market decide the prices. And it's frustrating sometimes because you got to bid and fluff about with it all. Unless you're someone like us who have a couple of hundred customers where we see the back end and we can see everyone's prices. So we sort of cheat. So yeah. Okay, cool. I'll leave it at that for the local Volt stuff. Just keep it sort of basic and simple. Scott, do you have any questions?
Yes. Could you tell us a bit more about the peer-to-peer concept in terms of potentially not necessarily trading, but maybe you're a net exporter of electricity and you may have a family member that could benefit from that? A bit like your chicken shop scenario. Can you tell us about how that could look, what that would look like?
Great. So I'll bring this up here. See this minus 200 and this 199, the highest at the moment. So, and on this local Volt screen, guys, this price changes every 5 minutes because it's the wholesale market and these prices change. So this is a really good example, Scott, and the reason I pay no attention to these two here. So my mum, before she had solar and batteries, I would sell her energy at $1 cost to me. So every time my mum used energy, it cost me $1. So that helped me take money from my solar batteries and give my mum money for free, basically. Yes, I could have just paid my mum's energy bill, but that's just not as cool. I'm giving that money over to, one of the big guys or whatever. So yeah, so I was selling that money to my energy to my mum at a minus. It was costing me money. And this highest price, there's some cheeky guys out there that run businesses, and what they do, they have, because this is tax-free at the moment, it's tax-free till 2027. So you have a business and you have a solar at home, you can charge your business $10 a kilowatt hour like this guy's doing, and you're taking that money out of your business and putting in your home energy bill, which is tax-free. So your business is paying $10 a kilowatt hour, but at home you get a $10 credit, which is a non-taxable event. So that's what you can do. But if you want to be realistic about it, you can set the prices to friends and family, to whatever that you want to set with them, and do a deal and sell that energy to those people. So yeah, 100%.
So this really opens up the opportunity for people who, the wholesale, the feed-in tariff price has gone through the floor, and it's pretty much, nobody wants it. Nobody's calling for it. So this is an opportunity for those people to potentially offset a family member's bill. That's how we see it. That's how we see it playing out. The or a friend's or a community, maybe, you know, who knows what, and potentially this could grow into something that councils do for community housing, where they put a solar farm in and offset, you know, the bills of tenants in a high-rise apartment or in a, you know, community housing, that sort of thing. The peer-to-peer. So at the moment in Catch Control in the Monocle, the access we have is based on triggers on wholesale pricing, but we don't have the peer-to-peer aspect ready yet. We're doing some experiments on it now, and then the next thing will be to have it sort of available in the app in a way that the homeowners can relate to and you know, use it as they need to.
You know, totally. So, yeah, and so we're just sitting on that. So we had a school called the Living School here in the Northern Rivers, and they got a huge grant to put in solar and batteries and make the school more renewable, and they took full advantage of that there. And so what they're doing, they are offering their energy back to their mums and dads of those schools for cheaper energy to help out, because there's a lot of community grants available for batteries and solar for community organizations, and that's how they decide to do it. And we're just actually looking at numbers this morning. So they gifted $2,000 worth of credit across mums and dads' bills from using local vaults to be able to do that. So, which is good. So, cool. So how beneficial is local vaults if you don't have a battery or able to sell electricity at night times and rates? So look, I'm going to go against the grain here. I know a lot of people saying, you know, understand my battery sales gone. I'm pretty good at it. I sell batteries. That's what I do. Sign up to Amber, sign up to local vaults. The reality is we've got Chicken Mania. I'll talk about them. When we first signed Chicken Mania up, they're our worst customer for an energy profile doing this stuff. They use not much energy of a day. They cook a ton of chickens at the peak time of a night time when prices are through the roof. I've had Chicken Mania have bills for $7,000-$10,000 a month more than what they should have been if they're with another retailer. But over a 12-month period, they will cheaper. And that's why I go back to my point of people not giving it enough time. They get on 1 month and they get a huge bill with Amber, and then they leave, and then everyone makes a fortune with Amber, and then they're jumping back, but they missed the boat. You've got to give this stuff a 12-month chance. It'll take about 3 months to play around, to settle down, and then over 12 months. And you just think about it in reality. Energy retailers, they take all that cost and they put a margin on it. So if you're over 12 months, they play that 12-month period game, they're making 20 to 30% margin. If you look at the profits, Origin, AGL, billions of dollars, every month they're setting record profits. That there itself shows you could switch to a company like Amber or local vaults on the wholesale market, and you will save money, 100% guaranteed. So, and local vaults and Amber both have to offer you a standard maximum rate that you ever pay over the 12 months. So if you have a look on the front of the local vaults website, if you really want to look into the nitty gritty of it, Amber have the same thing. There has to be a maximum that the energy retailers can charge you, and it's all somewhere down the bottom here. Basic standard retail agreement, standing offered rates, somewhere like that. It'll explain to you what the maximum that local vaults can charge. I actually think it's about 54 cents a kilowatt hour over the 12 months. It's something like that. So, yeah, go have a play around and have a look at that information, have a read of it all. And all energy providers have a standard market offer, and they can't charge you more than that. That's sort of the whole concept. And it doesn't matter your wholesale or a traditional retailer, they can't charge you more than the standard market offer. So, cool. Does Catch Power Relay talk directly to the internet or via the inverter? Scott? Does both, does it?
Via Wi-Fi. So direct to the internet via the. It does connect to the. Yeah, it does do both actually. Yes, but it's definitely direct to the internet. And then, so I guess in terms of responding to pricing, it would be a signal that comes through from local vault to our server, then into our device, and then it'll control the CER based on that. Sometimes the inverter, sometimes the catch control is connected to the inverter via Wi-Fi, but more often than not, it's connected via hardwired, which is a Modbus RTU protocol.
Cool. And so we've got one more question, I think. So looking at the map, a green circle around Cairns. So guys, all these green circles or orange circles, whatever time of day you look at them, they're customers. They're live. That's information. That's a customer. So yeah,
they're a generator, aren't they? Are they a generator? That's
yeah, but they're people in the Ergon area that have signed up to local volts. Yep, they'd be a generator.
yeah.
So I've got a very large solar farm, like megawatts coming onto local volts up in that area. So yeah, look, it's just hit and miss is really like some customers get a really good experience with local volts in certain areas and others don't. So so yeah.
All right, good on you, Mike. Well, thanks very much for that. We might wrap it up there. That's the full hour. Appreciate everyone that's hung around for our presentation, and I hope it was of value. And if you have any comments or questions, keep them coming through not sure how we can get there, probably through the email or some other method through our website, through our Facebook page. We'd be glad to take those up as they come through.
Well, I think Aaron will have everyone's contact details at registered, so she'll be able to email my details out. But yeah, if you do have any questions directly about local volts, guys, I don't work for local volts. Just talk to them. I just love what they do. So
yeah, and we're a big supporter as well. And of course, we've got an awesome product that everyone can benefit from. So,
and just one thing to finish on before we do go is look, if anyone out there is buying solar batteries, I saw on the poll there, don't know too many people didn't see the poll or not. But one thing that I'll finish I love about Catch Power is it doesn't matter what energy retailer or solar and battery inverter that you work with, it's very universal. A lot of companies, the hard thing about, like DAE has a really good cloud product. But when you're getting your solar and batteries installed out, you're buying it, ask your installer and say, I really want to get the catch control installed, because they can just replace the energy meter that they're going to put in there anyway. It's going to give you so many more options by having catch control instead of getting the Goodway energy meter or the DAE meter, because either way you can use both platforms if you use the catch control to get in with it. So I would leave that as a recommendation. If you are buying solar batteries out there, just tell your installer, mate, throw the crappy energy meter in the bin you're going to sell me and get me a catch control as a part of the deal. Cool. Done.
Good on you, Mike. Thanks very much for your time and your contribution. And we may do this again. We'll sold out. We're at capacity, so we might have to do it again.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.